And then with 6.1, like that was at Nash Walton jump ball. And this is where I'm going to ask you. Nash said he called timeout. Do you think he actually called timeout, and do you think the refs hurt him?
So still plenty of time, a 1-point game. Nash coming up. They have to foul. Nash looking, tied up, reach in. Walton, a jump ball! A jump ball! Yeah, Nash is furious.
So I was doing a little bit of research to this, and in some post-game interviews, he was saying he wasn't calling timeout, but Boris was. And I feel like if you watch at least the link that we watched, someone's yelling timeout. And so I don't know if it's D'Antoni or a player. Either way, I guess it should have been called. But on top of that, when they have when Luke and so a couple things, maybe the Lakers get away with some pushing there. When the Nash and Luke Walton are kind of tangled up for that, what ends up being in a jump ball. When Luke has his hands on the ball, his foot is out of bounds. So they should have just said Suns ball, because the
Suns
Lakers
ball.
And so if I was a Suns fan at that point, given the lack of the timeout, lack of a foul call, once post game when they show the different angles that they show Luke has a hand on the ball with his foot on the bounds, I'd probably be pretty freaking pissed that this ended up in a jump ball.
Yeah, and as Suns fans, obviously hindsight, right? 2020, and it's all right, well, I guess karma worked. And but it definitely seemed, and Nash didn't really fight it, right? He didn't argue it too much. He was just all right, well, whatever. What are you gonna do? And because maybe, like you said, maybe he knew he didn't call timeout, but I'm sure he heard timeout. And at that moment, I'm sure that place is crazy loud and very difficult to hear. So I can easily see a scenario where somebody on Phoenix called timeout. At least how many D'Antonis do they have in the coaching staff? I'm sure all of them yelled timeout. Dan D'Antoni, Mike D'Antoni, Cheryl D'Antoni. They didn't have a Cheryl D'Antoni, but I'm just making her up. So, and then we have the moment that we all know, the clip we've all seen, Luke Walton's biggest tip of his entire life. And he tips it to Kobe. It was a perfect play because, we don't need to tip it to anybody else. Kobe gets it, makes that move on the right wing.
And
a 1-point game. Walton can tip it. Bryant with the save.
Oh, you're going to get a shot here.
Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Bang!
It's great. It's a perfect shot. It's, Staples Center goes crazy. Mike Breen and Hubie do the proper thing and stay silent for the duration of the release, I guess, of energy and the celebration.
God, I just love watching that because 6.1 left or whatever it is, Walton gets a tip. Kobe, absolute zero hesitation about chasing down this ball.
He knows where he's going.
Exactly where he wants to go. In interviews afterwards, even years afterwards, he was saying I wasn't looking at defenders, I was just looking at a spot on the floor that I wanted to get to. And he was I knew if I could get there, we were going to win the game. And it's just so freaking brilliant and poetic, and it's weird. And I don't even think it's necessarily because he's passed, but people, this is such a great Kobe moment. If any other player has a similar moment that lost a series, they're oh, whatever, it lost a series. But for whatever reason, Kobe just has this quality or something that just nobody cares in this moment that they lost a series. If this was LeBron, if this was not Lake LeBron, if this was Heat or Cavs LeBron, we'd be bitching about it.
It's true.
Yeah, any other play, but it's we
right.
just ignore that the Lakers lost this series, and it's just a moment that was shown. Any top Kobe film clip this is going to be in there.
There's only one player that I feel has that same kind of love, and it's Iverson. And it's the 0-1 series, right? Nobody cares. The Lakers blew them out and swept them 4 straight. That Shaq crunched Mutombo to nothing. And it was just AI was a dog, and he carried that team, and that team shouldn't have been there. And I think that's what it is, right? That team shouldn't have been there. That team should not have been there. They should not have had a 3-1 lead. That was mission impossible. And it was, and we saw what happened when Phoenix was right. That they we'll give you your 1 and then we'll get you home. And it was a perfect mix of Kobe trying to reinvent himself. Shaq was already in the process of doing so. The Lakers were not on par with Miami at all. The Lakers were nowhere near a championship contender. The Spurs have continued their dominance. You know, they just won. I think they won a title the year before. That's who won.
The Spurs, yeah.
And so it's like, all right, well, the Lakers are no longer relevant. Like the Spurs are there, the Pistons are there, Miami's there, Dallas, and all of a sudden they were relevant again just because of how good Kobe was, and that's why. And also, that shot was fucking awesome. Like, let's not be real. Like, shit was sick. There's not many Laker game winners, right? And like, look how dope AD's game winner was, like last year. Like, that was so dope. And it's not even in the same category. And it was such a bigger shot. Like, it actually helped the Lakers win a title. Like that is a huge shot in our championship round. There's no way we win a title if we don't hit that shot. But if you go to game winners in Laker history, like Kobe's is like, nah. Like, you need fans in order to make this moment special, unfortunately. And like, that's one thing the bubble didn't have.
Oh, definitely. I think it just speaks to the Kobe mystique that like one play can overshadow like a series result or a season that didn't end in a title. Just and I think it was just, you know, something involved with being post Shaq, with having not made the playoffs the year before, with going up 3-1 against a heavily favored team at home.
Exactly. You know, it's all part of the mystique, the lore that made Kobe, and this game is essential in that legacy. He finished with 24 points, no pun intended there. He just finished with 24, 9 of 14 shooting, 38 minutes, 4 rebounds, 8 assists.